Radio.com.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching the 505 Racing Show. Welcome. Hope everybody had a good week. I know I did. I had a great time at Stafford Motor Speedway, Spring Sizzler, and my race team. We had a good time. And they say anytime you drive your race car off the racetrack, that's a good one. But we had a great run. Wade Cole drove my car again, and started, I believe, 23rd. And finished 15th. So another solid finish, leaving him 15th in points. So having a good season. Nothing's broke. Finishing races, running real well. You always want to run better. And, I think the difference between this year and maybe the second half of last year is the pit crew is consistent. When I say consistent, it's the same guys. 2 races in a row, we had the same guys. And we made it happen. So we're having fun. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later on. Richmond Cup Series and then the Nationwide was at Richmond, Virginia this weekend. And even though it's a smaller track, a mile and a half, but it's considered a short track. Now, I'll tell you what, the beating and the banging on and off the racetrack was typical of any Saturday night track across the country. These guys and gals, they're human beings, just like you and me when they go racing. Just like you and me, and their emotions run high. Now, you got to understand something, and I was thinking about this on the way out. To these drivers, this is their livelihood. This is their profession. This is how they feed their families. This is how they live the lifestyle that they're in. And understand, and being a racer at one time and coming back into it, understand that, it's, even though these guys aren't in the shop and gals, in the shop putting these things together, there's a pride thing. Whether you're battling for first, second, and third, or you're battling for 17th, 18th, and 19th, it's one more spot that you're trying to gain, one more spot that you're trying to get. 2 more points, 3 more points, 4 more points. Think about a 36 race season and you say, as a driver, as a competitor, if I could just get 3 more points every race, that's a lot of points. Think about that, 36 times 3, that's 108 points at the end of the season. If you don't think 108 points is the difference between more than a couple of spots, you might want to guess again. So what happens is, and there was an incident, there was a couple of incidents on this weekend that we'll talk about a little bit later, and that NASCAR is going to be talking about tomorrow down in headquarters. What they've done is these guys aren't hiding this stuff in there. This isn't new. These battles on and off the racetrack, these battles in the pit, on pit road, in the garage area, this isn't new. This has been going on since racing started. As Richard Petty said, this has been going on since the second car came off the assembly line. Bragging rights. You have to have it. And as a competitor, I know. I don't like to be binged and banged and pushed and shoved around on a racetrack. And maybe back in the day, I would give it back. Sometimes I got it because I gave it. But the emotions that go with this, people just don't understand this. An announcer this weekend at Stafford Motor Speedway, Ben Dodge, he put it right in perspective that not only a racer can understand, but a non-racer can understand. Then Ben Dodge said this. He said, the passion that racers have for this sport, whether you approach it as a business or a hobby, the passion that we have for this sport is so great that we would take our very last dollar and buy a part for our race car. We would not pay the electric bill in some cases because we need a set of tires for the race car. We miss things as racers. We miss weddings, funerals, christenings, communions, confirmations, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, family barbecues, family outings, vacations, because we're racers. Doesn't make it right or wrong. That's what we do. And I've said this a dozen times or more. It's like the guy who goes hunting Thanksgiving weekend. My friend's father, you didn't see him Thanksgiving weekend. He went hunting. The season started, he went up to the little cabin up in the mountains. He went hunting Thanksgiving weekend. So they used to celebrate their Thanksgiving the weekend after. The fisherman, that boat goes in the water, and you're a fisherman, you're out there every day. You're doing your thing. The clammer, you didn't buy a clam boat to have it sit at the dock. You go clamming every day, every weekend. Make every dime you can. So what Ben Dodge was saying, he was, a racer goes out, and they eat, sleep, and drink racing. So he made an analogy that at the time when he was saying, I said, what is this guy? Where's he going with this? He goes, I have that passion, even though he's not a competitor anymore. He owned cars years ago and whatnot, but he said he has that passion. He says every weekend, the last weekend in April, he's at the Spring Sizzler at Stafford Motor Speedway, checking out the cars, watching the races, doing his job as an announcer. And he says it's the passion. Now he says, if he were a gambler, there are avenues for that. You can go to Gamblers Anonymous. If he was an overeater and weighed 500 pounds, there's an avenue for that. You can go to Overeaters Anonymous. If he was into drugs, he can go to Narcotics Anonymous. If he was a drinker and alcoholic, he can go to Alcoholics Anonymous. There's nowhere to go if you're a racer and you have a problem. There are some racers. I'm amazed that, and I'm not putting anybody down here. Please don't say this. But, and I'll tell you what, I'll stick up for anybody. If that's their passion, that's what they're going to do. God bless them. But there are racers who do it out. They do it out. A decent pair of shoes, clothes, a nice winter coat, heat in their home, electricity. I drove for a guy years and years ago. And I went to his house to go get him. We're going to go work on a race car. And his family was sitting around the kitchen table with their coats, their winter hats, and their gloves on. So I thought one of two things. Either they just got home from where they were, or they were just getting ready to leave. No, there was no heat. And this guy asked me to take him to the parts guy to get some parts. Now, he has no heat in his house, but he was going to the parts place to get some parts for his race car. And it was off season. It wasn't like the races tomorrow when he had to get these parts. He could have waited another week or two. But that's the passion that people have for our sport. Like I said, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but I respect the right of anybody. If that's what you want to do, God bless you, and I'll help you if I can. I'm not paying your racing bills. I have enough trouble paying my own racing bills. But this is where it's at, with racing. And I guess where I was going with this, on the cup level, on the top series, the national series in racing in North America, there's a passion here. What went on at Richmond with a couple of the teams wanting to do battle is because of the passion. Now, it didn't just start at Richmond. When you think about it, like I said, I raced before, I'm going to race again. it's something, maybe and I'm one of these guys. I have a memory. I could recount every lap of every race that I was ever in, other than the one where I had the wreck. I don't even remember the weekend, let alone the wreck. But I remember who got into me, who sent me, who put me in the fence, who let me go by, who worked with me, who helped me, who didn't help me. I remember all this stuff. So if you don't think at the top level that they don't have the same, hey, wait a minute, this guy took me out like last year, 2 years, 3. Wow, there's my opportunity. This stuff goes on even at the highest level. The highest level. And fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on what side of the fence you're on, this made for good TV ratings. People love this stuff. They love the beating and the banging on and off the track. Because now you know what's going to happen, especially what happened in Richmond this past weekend. We'll talk about that. What happened in Richmond is they were brawling, and I watched the race. I caught the end, and all of a sudden I hear that there's a fight. I'm like, I turn my head and I'm watching. Now people are going to watch next weekend because there are people who watch racing for the racing. There are people who watch racing for the fights. There's some people who watch racing for the crashes. And with the race coming up, there's going to be some crashing. There's going to be, But anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when NASCAR meets and makes a decision as to what's going to happen. That all happens on Tuesdays when they have I believe it's called the competition meetings, where they talk about what happened this past weekend, and if there's any incidences or reports that get filed and things of that nature. It gets announced on Tuesday, and the overnight letter gets sent to the competitors or the people or crew members or owners, whoever, have to be notified about what the penalty is going to be. And under the new penalty format, I'm sure there's going to be some penalties handed out. We'll talk about the incident when we come back here at 505 on Racing Show. We'll be back.
I'm Nikki Lorenzo, and be sure to watch In or Out, pun intended, on Friday nights on inradio.com.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural.
And organic.
But strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
For For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit hansoncarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
InRavio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, so the incident, the one that stands out in my head is after battling, I believe it's like 18th and 19th place late in the race for position. Some blood developed between Casey Mears and Marcos Ambrose. Now, I've never known Marcos Ambrose to be a hothead. So, so for what he did, now there's got to be more to this story. It wasn't just, this didn't come from, we're battling for 18th and 19th or 17th and 18th, and we're beating and banging for that spot and those 3 extra points, or whatever it was, 2 extra points. This has to be some old stuff. It has to be. Because Marcos Ambrose, I don't mean to laugh here, but this Australian took Casey Mears and he messed him up. He hit him in the left eye, his eye, and I'll say here, it says, he popped Mears in the left eye, leaving Mears with a gnarly bruise and swollen left eye, that to the point where Mears was in a charity event the next day and wore big dark glasses so nobody could see it. Now, as I said earlier, NASCAR's going to review this on Tuesday, I'm sure. They're going to have a discussion. But as Mears says, usually when there's these kinds of altercations in the garage area, it's more of arms flailing and people pushing and shoving and who's holding back who. And once somebody is being held by 2 or 3 people, all of a sudden they're trying to lunge at them. A lot of it, in my opinion, is for the show. They really don't want to hit the guy. But Marcos Ambrose popped this guy. I mean, he hit him. He wanted to knock him out. Now, I got to tell you something, folks. I love it. Because you know what? And I don't know what transposed between these 2 guys, Mears and Marcos Ambrose, prior to this, because it had to be something. You don't just bump and bang and push and shove for the 17th and 18th position and then, decide to have a fight. This had to be something that was going on. It had to be something that when they walk past each other, Roger, I'm telling you, dude, one more time, and I'm gonna, hit you in the head or whatever. This is what had to happen. I mean, come on, and don't get me wrong. I know all about that craziness. I was one of those guys. Sometimes, I'd be having a bad week, and I'd be sitting in the race car racing, and I was like, just one guy. One guy has to send me, and he's going to get the wrath of this week. And sometimes that's what happened, And many a time I was asked to leave the races a little bit earlier than I had anticipated in my career. I still have some of my penalty notices. I used to have one on my office in my wall, and not only when I was running Riverhead as the chief guy, but in my office at UPS, I had one of my penalty notices up there, and people used to look at it. Wow, you got fined and suspended. Yep, and put on probation. In fact, I'm still on probation at my local racetrack. It's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna go there on Saturday night, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going up to Chemung for a modified event or to Riverhead to see if I could be in a modified event. Yeah, I'm on this probation. I gotta talk to the powers to be that, it's been something like 4 years and to be put on lifetime probation. I'm gonna talk about that one. I'm gonna talk about that later on tonight. That this lifetime probation. Basically, I can't come out of the men's room and throw my, hand towel in the garbage or miss it because I could, be accused of, throwing trash all over the pit area. Because that's what I felt like when it was first initiated. But anyway, we'll save that for later. But like I said, the passion for Marcus Ambrose, and I'm not sticking up for Marcus Ambrose. I'm just taking facts here as I know it. Because everybody knows I'm a Richard Petty Motorsports fan, and you could put my worst enemy in a Richard Petty car, I'm going to root for him. But for this guy to do that, man, I don't know. I just don't know. This is not just from Richmond. Trust me. And then I was watching some of the video of other altercations and watching Michael Waltrip get out of his car and calmly take the window net down and started beating on somebody. I don't remember who he was hitting, but I was like, wow, this guy's going nuts. And I never understood why you would hit a guy in the head who's wearing a helmet. I don't know. I don't understand that. You pull down window net. You take the time to pull down the window net. Take the time to take off his helmet. He's strapped into the seat. What's he gonna do? No, I shouldn't condone it. I don't condone fighting. I really don't. I'm a new person. I turned over a new leaf, and fighting gets you nowhere. But anyway, like I said, NASCAR's going to. I'd be interested to see what comes of this. I'm sure there's going to be some fines and stuff that get handed out, and I'm sure there'll be like probation until December 31st, and all that kind of good stuff. Which, and please, not NASCAR, don't get upset with me, but there's something I don't understand. And I'm not going to give you the facts here. I'm just throwing this out there. Yeah, you had a driver last year, and on one team, and a crew chief on another team, they were put on probation until the end of the year, the end of the season. How it was written. One was the end of the year, and one was the end of the season. And they had another penalty, and they were put on probation. So what are they on, double probation? Usually, like in the world, in the United States of America, if a criminal gets out of, does something and he's on probation, and they violate they violate the rules or the laws and they do something else, they're done. Just throwing it out there. I'm just asking it as a question. Maybe somebody could send. I'll probably get like an email tomorrow and say, Joe, we told you not to go there. But it's a question. I'm sure I'm not the only person that has that question. How many probations can you be on? I know I'm on lifetime probation. Years ago, back in the 70s, Walt Detzel, the late Walt Detzel, may he rest in peace, put me on. I was banned for life. Banned for life for something I did at ISIS Speedway. And I got, I was only like 8, 9, I think I was 19 years old, and I was like, wow, I planned on racing for another 40 or 50 years, and I can't be banned for life. What am I going to do? And I lived in Babylon. Riverhead was just so far to go, and it wasn't NASCAR at the time. I was like, I don't want to go all the way out to Riverhead. Holy gee, what am I going to do? So I, humbled myself, and I went in and talked to Walt Detzel, and he was kind of amused at my humbled approach. And then there was a fly on his sandwich, and the fly got it. You fortunately went, get off my sandwich, and the fly went on the desk, and then he killed the fly. You smack it, bam, now the fly is dead. And he brushed it off the desk, and he goes, all right, I'll see you next week. And I said, oh, I'm not banned for life? Oh, yeah, you are. He goes, but it was the life of that fly. You're good to go. True story. So lifetime probation. I don't know whose life they're looking at. But they're looking at my life. I still have another 20, 30 years left, I'm thinking. So, yeah, anyway. So, like I said, it'll be interesting what goes on. And I know Keselowski gets a little upset with somebody, and he went, charging down behind pit wall after somebody. Here's what I'm thinking. If you're at your weekly short track, and the pit area is fine, and most of the officials are up watching the event, yeah, you could go do something like that and get away with it, maybe. Because there'll be 30 witnesses, and there'll be 30 different accounts. Trust me, I've been on both ends of that. Accused of being in a fight that I wasn't in the fight. I was trying to break up the fight, but that's okay. That's part of my lifetime probation. But like I said, we'll talk about that later. I'm in one of those moods today. Yeah, I got you in the office is laughing about that. But you know, what are these guys thinking? There's cameras everywhere. There's cameras on pit road. There's cameras on every pit stall in the National Series. There's cameras all over the racetrack. What are these guys thinking? They can't even go in and say, I didn't do that. They got to go in, when NASCAR calls them into the office or calls them into the trailer or calls them up during the week and says, hey, listen, we're discussing your situation. You know, give us your version. If I'm that guy, if I'm in the National Series with national TV and I just went down pit road and grabbed somebody and choked them or whatever I did, ripped them out of their car, I got to go in and plead, you know, say no low contendere, no contest. I did it. What's the penalty? Because, you know, you go in there and you start trying to talk your way out of it, you're just going to tick them off. I used to sit there when guys would come into my office and say, Joe, I didn't do it. Come on, listen, I saw it with my own eyes. Well, you don't understand. I wasn't really choking him. I was just trying to help get him out of the car because he looked like he was hurt after the wreck. Yeah, I'd hear the stories I used to hear from some of these guys and gals. You know, one I watched a driver go into turn one and never turned the wheel. Just boom, bam, the guy right into the wall. Right in. So I want to block flag him for that. I thought it was intentional. They come, that Krug, he comes on, no, you understand, we have a bad push, we have a bad push. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to watch the rest of this race. If that push suddenly disappears, I'm going to put you to last with no points, no money earned. So what does the driver do? The driver goes all the way to the back. They go to 20th for what they did for the rough ride, and I still made them go in the back. And they drove their way through the field, had a top 5 finish without a push. Well, guess where they finished? They finished 20th with no points, no money. You know, if you're going to say you have a push, you need to have a push the whole race. Not just that one corner when the guy you were mad at you wanted to put in the fence. But I don't know. No, I just don't know. But yes, so that's right. It was Kenseth. Brad was a little upset with. But I watched the video that was at NASCAR.com. I watched the video of that on-track situation. I don't think Matt Kenseth did anything wrong. I just don't know. You know, I don't know. I think, you know, here's the guy. I believe he was in the lead, protecting that lead. You know, you want to pass me, go around me. And when you start to go around me, yeah, I'm gonna take away some of the room. You don't think Keselowski would have did the same thing? Of course he would have. Of course he would have. And I always tell drivers, you know, think about it. When it's not your day, someday it will be. You want to be treated the same way you treated that guy, you want to be treated with respect. And respect you have to earn, especially on the racetrack. Especially on the racetrack. And speaking of being on the racetrack, I'm sure some select few people saw a certain picture from inside. What did I call it? I call it a view from the driver's seat. Me at Stafford in the 83, renumbered 33, this past weekend. I'm not going to say how I did it. All I know is I was decided coming around the back that it was, maybe I should take a picture of this on my phone. And I got my phone out and snapped the car. I actually have 4 pictures of it. That was the best one, the one that I posted. It really looks cool. Don't ask how I did it. Just, you know, those who were there know how I did it, and that's all that needs to be done. But anyway, my racer saying he doesn't think Brad could have dumped him at one point and did. He could have. I think he could have, and he doesn't do that. But he did muscle him, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love good hard racing. And what's it saying? No phones allowed in car. Joe, to the truck again. I'm thinking they should just park right next to me. But, you know, if you don't use it as a phone, is it still a phone? I'm just asking. You know, Just the question I'm throwing at. If you know, I'm not calling people. I mean, if Brad Keselowski could do Twitter while he's sitting on the caution, I'm just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. But it looked pretty cool. And you know what was nice about it is you get to see what it's like to be in the driver's seat of a modified. Not a lot of people get that opportunity. And you know, one person, when they saw the picture, they sent me a private message. They said, "That looks scary. You can't see the right corner," and you can't. You know, you really can't see the right corner. But I don't know. I don't know. But it was fun. I had a good time doing it, posting it. No selfies while driving. You know, it's just fun. I'm not the same Joe that I was years ago. See, now I like to just have fun. I like to make people laugh. I like to laugh, and I got some good laughs out of that. And like I said, maybe in the book that I'm finishing up now, View from Pit Road, we might throw that in as to how we did it, because you know, I'm still not able, as per NASCAR, to participate or do stuff on certain racetracks yet. I'm still down to just quarter-mile racetracks, but that's okay. I'm loving it, and it's just giving us a little time to regroup and make things happen, and we just have to go to Plan C, because we already went to Plan B, and we're looking forward to when the opportunity comes. I mean, it's a blessing in disguise, because there's like 8 rookies in the series this year. I don't think there's been 8 rookies in the last 5 years, you know, totally. But and that's okay, because it's a good crop of rookies. Timmy Samolino, one of them had a great run this weekend, and it was all good. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about today too, there's something that I put in the rules of my local racetrack way back. I believe it was in 2000. Maybe 1999, and it had to do with an intrusion plate for the trailing arm in the late models, and then I made it for all divisions. That there had to be a plate, you know, a piece of diamond plate. I think it's 125 gauge, something thick. So the trailing arm, if the race car backs into the wall hard enough and the rear bends or shifts or whatever, the trailing arm can't go through the seat, you know, through the back firewall, which is really just, you know, a piece of metal. You know, sheet metal, and go through the aluminum seat and through the seat cover into the driver's back, which in essence could cripple him or her. So you know, and I got some pushback from that when I insisted that be done, but there's a couple of guys that came up to me and showed me their trailing arm it was now in the shape of a U and not straight, because they did back it into the fence, and that would have gone through the seat and possibly hurt them. But one of the things I can't understand in the modifieds is the interior sheet metal. It's not a heavy gauge. And I always wondered about the torque arms coming up through the tunnel. Drive shaft, even though it's a drive shaft hoop. If the hoop fails or whatever, and the hoop is really more designed to keep the drive shaft from stopping, you know, dropping and becoming a catapult type of deal for the car so it gets launched. But anyway, Rich Pillai, driving the NASCAR Wheeler Modified Tour, on the green at full speed, his trailing arm broke and came through that. Now, sitting in the modified is very tight. Now, your arms, you know, you're right here, you're driving, the steer wheels are closed, and you got to, if you do this, you're hitting the drive shaft tunnel. Well, he comes into the pit area, and he's sitting, he's holding his elbow, and I go over to him, I say, "Hey, what happened?" He goes, the trailing arm, the torque arm broke, and we're done. Now all of a sudden, the ambulance comes. Well, and I looked inside his car, and it came through that piece of metal, and hit him in the elbow. Painful. I've said for years, I've been involved with the modifieds, and as a towing official, and now as a crew member / car, driver. There's a lot of stuff under there that come through. And how do we protect that? How do we protect the drivers from that? I mean, just like the curved windshields of a couple of years ago, and Brian Chu got hit with a piece of a blown motor and it broke his helmet. And then all of a sudden now the curved windshield wasn't good enough. We had to go with a flat one. How do we better protect these drivers? What do we have to do? I mean, do we need a rule from NASCAR to protect ourselves, or can we on our own go and protect ourselves? And you know what happens is, we want these things to be as light as they can, and if it says you have to, your minimum weight is 2650, guys go over the scales at 2643, and you got to add a gallon of gas because you want to be right there, and maybe putting this plate at least in this area by the driver's arms and legs, it should be a lot thicker gauge steel. He was lucky. He was lucky, And what if he was in the turn and his elbow wasn't there? It could maybe dislocated his shoulder, did some damage there, or worse yet, maybe he was involved in a spin and he was turning to the right and he was like this, and it came up and maybe hit him in the jaw, maybe he broke his neck or something. I don't mean to be, a doom and gloom guy, but. Ladies and gentlemen, I got hurt in a race car because we cut corners. And this is an old joke about my pizza box firewall. I never raced with the pizza box firewall. Somebody else did. And you go to the minimum. The rule says, 22 gauge, you go 22 gauge. Nobody says, you know what? I think on my own I'm going to go to a thicker gauge. You get the rule. Where's the rule? The rule says this. This is what I'm doing. We got to protect ourselves, folks. We got to protect ourselves. With that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to continue on this protect ourselves talk. We'll be back.
Hey, Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
Hey, we're back. Hey, we have on the phone from Torrington, Connecticut, DJ. How you doing, DJ?
How's it going with you?
How you feeling?
I'm getting better.
There you go.
The right ankle's a lot better. Excuse me. The left ankle is a little stiff, on I can move it up and down, but I can't move it right or left. I only have half motion, basically, on that. But
Progress, though.
yeah. The doctor said push it, so
All right.
and I'm out for another month. So you were talking about the torque arms.
Yep.
I have an idea. Put a 1/4-inch steel plating there, curve it where the driver sits,
I'll
and
tell you
weld
what,
it
that
right
would work.
there, so that way that nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, because I went over to they were actually parked next to us on Pit Road, and I went over and looked at the car because, it's hard to get the official out of me, So I went over and I'm looking, and I'm like, I'm looking at the tunnel, and I'm like, whoa, this thing came up, and right there where his elbow is, it came up and whacked him. But that definitely would work because there's so much underneath these cars, and a lot of people don't realize what's underneath these cars to keep everything in place. And when your torque arm comes up, and the name of the part, torque arm, it does exactly that. It keeps everything from under there, like from folding up.
Right. Now you have a right and left and a middle torque arm. Now
Yeah.
the right's always what it does. It breaks because it's aluminum.
Right.
Now the middle one is not. It's more or less steel. And it's really kind of hard to bend.
Right.
So, but otherwise, had it right, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw that and I went, oh my God, how much trouble is he in?
Yeah. It was fun. I had a good time,
Yeah.
I was looking to go upstate and try to get a race in, but I got a phone call that it wasn't going to happen, so I stayed in Stafford. I really wanted to mix emotion what I was going to do because I want to get that seat time that I so desperately need to get. And
Right.
But we had a good time, and
I'm sorry I'm not there, and I'm really sorry that you guys are doing a really good job because.
I said to the crew, I says, "What are we going to do in this 3 cars?"
Well,
I was the jack man for 2
I can't help you out in
cars.
that part because I'm not gonna. Like I told my doctor, I says I'm not gonna get in the car, and he already asked me, "Are you ready to drive?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
I says I got myself in the front seat.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, but I'm still holding the bar up at top.
Yep.
So I'm still squeamish about that. Some people can understand it, but some people can't.
Yep.
And I don't have nothing against the people who can't understand it until it happens to them. Then they'll realize, wow, he's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what you said about Ambrose and Mears there.
Yeah.
having it out. Yeah, I think what it was is that he was pushing him. And he said, stop pushing me or I'm going to clock you. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
These Aussies are tough. You can't.
He doesn't take no nonsense, Marcus Ambrose.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It was a good race. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a good race.
I watched both of the races, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the Camaro, and I'm like, I got a picture of Camaro in front of me, and I'm like, this is nothing like the Camaro or the Mustang.
No.
So how are they saying this is a Camaro when the windshield's 6 inches higher than what it is? If you're not going to make something that's a everyday car, then like I said to you last week, I said tilt the windshields forward, block off the front, take the back like they did years ago with that slope out of there, and just square it up.
Yep.
Let us have the race back to us.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. But see, people, they can't understand where's he going with this. Well, they're almost doing 200 miles per hour. Granted,
Yep.
Now they want to knock them down to slower than that. How are they going to do that? Well, just like you said last week about I know I'm jumping all over the place, but that's normal because I want to get it done and over with. It's like what Roush said, take the intakes and make them smaller. Yep. You could do that too, but the only problem is they're still going to find a way to get that 750 horsepower.
Oh, yeah. I've always said the fast cars are going to be fast no matter what you do, and the slow cars are, the parity is never going to be there. If you're the back of the pack guy, no matter what rule they make or what engine modifications you're allowed, you're still going to be the back of the pack guy unless you do something different.
Right. You're exactly right.
I had an old boss at UPS. He used to say, if you continue to do the things you do, you're going to continue to get the results that you get.
Right.
And like I said, no matter what rule you change, the Jimmy Johnsons, and the Tony Stewarts and the Kenseth, they're going to still run up front.
Yep.
And the back markers are still going to be the back markers.
I have to say with this tire rule at Richmond, I didn't think that was that new tire that they put there. They tried it once before, if you remember right, and they had the same problems.
Right.
And now the downforce that these cars got, they said, well, okay, we're gonna give you the ground clearance that you want on the car. So now you see the whole tire that's sucked under, the wheel well.
Yep.
And now you're having problems with taking the tire off because now it has to be straight and everything else. Raise it back up, let it go back in the hands of the driver.
Oh yeah.
There's
a
lot of.
I saw a couple of tires come off cars at Richmond that from the inside tread towards the middle was shredded.
Right.
Because, and in my opinion, no air is getting to these tires to help cool them off.
Right.
And that's the thing with modifieds, there's air running all over these things, and it helps keep the tires cool.
Well, that's because we got dirty air, and if you let us go with Loudon, now Loudon will hit faster speeds than what the Cup guys do.
Yep.
That's because we got the wider tires.
Yep.
And we only got 600 horsepower.
Yeah.
We got a gear rule. Let them have a gear rule. Kick it back down to what they're supposed to do.
That's right.
That's where they got things from us before. Is hey, we looked at this and the modifieds are doing something different. Why don't we try this? And they didn't try it.
Yeah. It's a lot of it has to do with ownership of who comes up with these rules, and
right.
It's all part of it, and I don't mean this in a bad way. The politics of any internal corporation,
right.
And you don't want to step on toes, and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but do they need to slow these cars down, at least in the Cup? I think they do. And in myracenews.com, go back to stock bodies. Even though, and in my last visit to the R&D Center in Concord, North Carolina, at NASCAR, they had the stock production available on one side of this big, massive room, and the race car version on the other side. And supposedly, certain measurements on the body matched identical. And looking at it, yeah, they did. However, certain things were also a lot different.
Right.
And I remember looking at the trucks and the truck series, and I'm looking at the stock version, and I go next to where the race truck is. I'm like, certain things looked exactly the same, but certain things look not even close.
Right.
And it's a matter of where you measure from and what you're looking for.
Right, exactly. It's like it's supposed to be 110 wheelbase, and you got 108 wheelbase.
Exactly.
It's just not. It's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a 2-door, and you got a 4-door race.
Exactly. Yeah. The Taurus was a 4-door car production, and the Camry's and
it's a 4-door too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know any Camrys with rear-wheel drive. I don't know.
No. Nope. And I haven't seen an SS yet. I mentioned that a couple of times already.
Go back to stock bodies. Go back. You
Right.
can't change the body one iota the way it rolled off the assembly line in Detroit or Mexico or Canada, wherever they build these things these days. Stock production bodies. Put the driver back in the driver's seat.
This is one of the reasons why I do not drive American. I'm not communistic or anything else like that, but they just torn me away from it. You know, and my Subaru gets 22 miles to the gallon. It's on its way out, but hey, I've had it for 10 years.
Hey, let me tell you something. I have a Ford Taurus with 147,000 miles, and I get 22 miles to the gallon with a big V8 around. No, I have a V6 around the town.
Oh, man.
You know, I'm not a mechanic, but if you keep it tuned right, you change.
Wait a minute. That's not true. You can change tires and you can change parts. I saw you do that.
That's a parts changer. That's not a mechanic.
But anyways, I'm glad that Wade did real good. And how was he feeling, anyways?
His leg hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we joked around about a relief driver again, but I don't think he was joking.
Yeah.
If I had a black fire suit and I had my beard back, maybe we could have got away with it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I have a bright blue fire suit. And
he's a real strong person. He's a good guy, and it's like unbelievable. You know. I'm gonna talk to him maybe Wednesday or maybe tonight if he's up there. And I'm going to talk to him. And have you talked to him about making that other car coming out or what?
Yeah, we did. We're just we're going to finish it up there. It basically has everything, and you know, now that the secret's out to 7.2 billion people across the universe, and then we're going to ship it down here and get the motor in and run some weekly events at the Riverhead Raceway and with the NASCAR weekly Whelen All-American Series. So,
really, you are?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I need laps.
Maybe I'll force myself to make a trip up.
Yeah.
But you got to keep in touch with me.
Yes. not just on Mondays.
So I'm going to let you go so you can do your
All
show.
right.
I appreciate what you do and say and everything else for me, Wade, the team, and you know, you're a great person.
Thank you.
And,
I enjoy you guys, and you know,
it's too bad I'm not there this year.
But when they call it the Wade Cole family of racing, I'm proud to be a part of it. Let me tell
there you go. Yeah, I'm proud to know him, and I still want the color because of his Pinto.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing a Pinto of his car.
Okay.
And I'm doing it, if he doesn't tell me, I'm just going to do it black and 33.
That's what he told me.
And it's going to have all the new parts. And later on, I want to, if you give me a call this week, I have an idea for something.
Okay.
Okay?
You got it.
And then we could go from there. And I don't hate NASCAR. I just hate where it's going.
Well,
you know?
a lot of people say. We're going to talk about that in the next hour.
Yeah. Okay, buddy?
All right, my man.
All right. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right. Thanks,
All
DJ.
right. Bye-bye.
DJ, my crew chief, even though he's laid up, looking forward for his return. Anyway, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what he kind of mentioned. Where is the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour going when we come back?
Hey, this is Gina Cotillo from The Gina Show. Come join us every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for celebrity interviews, Reality Reel with Billy Charles, funny stories with Brian Kinnear, and much, much more. The Gina Show can be found only on InRadio.com, broadcasting to the world. So come and catch us.
Singing
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Welcome back. So DJ kind of alluded to it. He's not happy with. He doesn't dislike NASCAR. He's just not happy where the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is going, and there's a lot of people who agree with him with that. You think about it, NASCAR's oldest division, its first division, were called modifieds, and basically they went and got a car at a dealership, and they modified it. And over the years, this full-fended car that was modified to go racing ended up being an open-wheel thing with, I can remember cars back in the 60s when I first started watching modifieds, who had crazy exhaust headers sticking out, above the roof, and who had this crazy piece, and who sat in the middle, who sat on the left side, who sat on the right side, who sat in the back seat as it appeared. They were modifieds. And You know, they took a chassis and they put a body on it, and you know, and it was just different. And somehow over the years, the modifieds became cookie cutter cars. And what I say about that is, if you were to paint each modified in primer gray, primer black, whatever primer color you want to pick, and they all went on a racetrack together, and all wore the same color fire suit, the same color helmet, other than maybe driving style, if you're a real good diehard fan, you couldn't tell one car from the other. Now, that's not what the problem with the Modified Series is. The problem with the Modified Series is it's, how can I say this? I don't look at it as a problem. How's that sound? I look at it as an unresolved situation, which can be fixed. Now, how can it be fixed? To fix something, first you have to recognize that it's broken. Now, for those who know me, I own a marketing company, and I was a sales manager at UPS, and you're probably, what do you have to sell at UPS? Well, let me tell you something. If you don't sell at UPS, you don't work there, at least in that function. You have to sell the series. How do you sell the series? I'm going to tell a little story. George Silverman came into a meeting with me and myself and Ed Cox, who was the series director at the time. I was race director, and George Silverman asked, "Do you think the series is strong?" Oh, absolutely. We have 45 cars every week. We have 20 some odd races. Getting good crowds at our races. It's all good. And at the time, George Silverman said, you have 20 races. 10 of them are run at 2 racetracks. Kind of looked at him. Yeah, wow. Some of the other races are run at racetracks that we hope this doesn't happen, but they might not be here in a couple of years. There's going to come a time, folks, where you only have 12 or 14 races. And I thought about that day after that weekend of racing wherever we were that week, because after a while they all seemed to blend. And driving my 5 or 6 hour ride home, getting online to get back onto Long Island, which added another 2 hours to the trip. And I thought about some of the things that George said that day. And I've talked about this before. Racers are racers, and they're going to go racing. And having a schedule now in the Modified Tour, the next event is not for another month. There's modified races all over the place, all over the place. Now, as a competitor, now, you know, on the competitive side of the fence, if I could, I'd race every day. I don't have the budget to race every day, but I would race as often as I could. I don't know why the frequency of the events has gone down so drastically, and not only in the modifieds, but most of the touring series. And this again is in no way to put NASCAR down. NASCAR puts out a good product, and they really do. But what happens just like in any corporation, the big wigs, the big bosses, the guys and I used to call it in UPS the ivory tower, have not trickled down to the guys in the trenches. Only because when you think about it, when you have a race that has a $30 or $40 million purse, the race that has a $50,000 purse, that's total money paid out, you got people to handle that. Now, here's what happens in corporate America, and I'm not saying this is what's happening in NASCAR. This is what happens in corporate America. Some people are so intent on not losing their job, they don't do the job that they were given to do. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is some employees in corporate America think and feel like they need to be conformist. How's that sound? Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. So in order to be that, they're not going to rock the boat. They're not going to go into their boss or their boss's boss or send a memo that hopefully that goes up the ladder and say, I think this is what's wrong, we should do this. They're not going to do that. Because in corporate America today, there's 10 people online for your job. There's 10 people online that want to take your job and they want to be you because it looks so grand to be you. And so these employees do not want to rock the boat. They don't want to take the chance of maybe losing that position or losing that job or the paycheck. One of the things that I learned at UPS, and as many of you know, I spent 25 years at UPS. One of the things I learned at UPS is you need to make a difference. Nobody at UPS ever got fired for trying to do something better. And nobody ever got fired for doing the wrong thing, unless the wrong thing was you took a package or you drank, or there was a bottle under your desk and you were drinking, or if you got physically violent with somebody. Those are the only three things that UPS would get you for. They encouraged you to step out of the box. Back in 1983, some guy said at UPS in some meeting, this company called FedEx is doing overnight packages, and we need to do that. We need to spend $1 trillion on aircraft, and we need to buy airports, and we need to buy, air containers, and we need to buy this, and this, so we could do that too. And a lot of people don't know that what UPS, although was solvent enough as a corporation to go out and buy all this, they did it slowly. They did big cities. They used American Airlines, who at the time was a big player in air freight. And because this individual had a vision, UPS, which was already a multi-million-dollar corporation, became a billion-dollar corporation. Think about if this guy was just sitting in some hub somewhere and says to himself, wow, we should go in the overnight. Nah, nobody will listen to me. Let's just ship these small packages around like we've been doing for, at the time, 75 years. This is, I think, the problem or the unresolved situation in NASCAR. The people who are running the touring series don't want to step out of the box. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think that's how they've been inbred at NASCAR, to not rock the boat, work as directed, and if the memo says do this, 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 and this, don't do that. And I say this because as many of you know, I'm looking at other avenues to get some laps in, and I look at this other modified series, the Valenti Modified Racing Series, who is sending home more cars on their series than we're getting in ours. And if you go down, and I say ours, the Whelen Modified Tour, and when you go down the list of competitors in the Valenti Modified Racing Series, more than half of those competitors were full-time Whelen Modified Tour competitors. More than half. Some do both. They run the Whelen Series and they run the one-day series because they're racers. They look at the schedule, and the schedules come out. All right, they got their baby. Oh, I could do this one. Wait, we got like let's get our calendar out. All right, the tour comes first. That's our priority. But oh wait, there's 2 of these and there's 3 of these, and then this is what happens. They realize dollar for dollar, the other series has a better payoff. Dollar for dollar. there may be only 1,500, 1,600, 1,800 to win as opposed to 5,000. But you're not, there's no pit stops, so you don't need all that equipment. You don't need fire suits for your crew and shoes and helmets and socks and underwear and goggles and an apron. You don't need the pit bull. You don't need that big expensive or the little expensive jack that, weighs like, nothing to make that quick pit stop. You don't need this, you don't need that, you need the other thing. So dollar for dollar, dollars spent for dollars on the return. You're still not making money, but you're not losing as much. And that's not the only other modified series out there. There's a lot of places, doing my research, there's a lot of places to go racing. And I speak to some of these competitors that, used to be tour guys, and I ask them, and they're like, oh, you gotta try it out, yeah, a lot of guys go home, it's very competitive, but it's fun, and there's no nonsense. And you know what, if you're on the bad end of a deal, it's nonsense. If you're on the good end of the deal, it's all good. And I understand that. And on any given day, a handful of drivers are going to be all upset with who's ever in charge because they didn't like the call, something happened, something in tech. And you throw that out the window. No matter where you race, what track, what series, what sanctioned body, you're going to have that. But in talking to these competitors and some car owners, it's a big cost thing that, hey, I'm running this series. We're racers. We want to race. I don't have to spend X, Y, Z dollars. I don't. And I had a nice conversation with Ed Flemke Jr., who's not racing at the moment in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, a series he has raced in, I believe, since 1988. 26 years. He has 439 starts. He was going to call in today if he could free himself up. He was going to call in tonight and talk about this. But here's a guy, he has 439 starts, 17 wins, second in points twice in 2004, 2006. And he has made in his career on the tour, he's credited with earning over $500,000 since 1985, or 1988, I should say. Now, Mr. Flemke is also a car builder with his partner, Reggie Ruggiero, and Chassis Dynamics, CD, which is the chassis that's under my race car. Years ago, and him and I did not talk about this. I talked about this at somebody else. Years ago in the modified series, this is what we had, and I know this firsthand. We as race directors, series directors, tech officials, we would reach out for guys like Art Barry, who owns Spafco, Dick Barney, who always had immaculate equipment, and of course Ed Flemke Jr., and get their input on things. I don't believe that's happening. Good, bad, or indifferent, a lot of decisions are made at the R&D Center based on testing, retesting, engineering, people getting together, computer modules, whatever they're doing down there to look and see what we need to do to make the cars stronger, safer, do what they're supposed to do with a wreck. But what's not happening is there's no trickle down. There's no feedback from the guys who own them, the guys who build them, the guys who race them, the guys who wreck them, and the guys who put them back together. And we as competitors, we're kind of fickle. We like to feel important. Even if it's a dog and pony show, once a year, let's get together someplace, let's talk about it. Whoever wants to come, and the criteria is you have to own it, you have to drive it, or you got to be a crew chief. So if there's only 30 guys or 30 cars that race regular, the most people that you can have there is 90. You're not going to have 200 people there. You're not going to have the fence grabbers there who just want to, oh, I'm curious, what are they talking about, You want to keep people there. Not everybody would go. and let's talk. Let's see what we could do to make our series better. What can we do to bring some of these guys who are running the other series and gals back to us? There are people who and I'm not going to throw in, I'm not like that, because I might be one of those people that are just 5 years ago, they would have never made a race. 3 years ago, they would have never made a race. They wouldn't have qualified. It used to be the difference between the pole, because the series was so competitive when it was 45 and 50 cars, the difference between getting the pole and being the guy, first car on the truck to go home, was just under 0.3 of a second. Now it's a little over half, maybe 0.6. Why is that? Because the same problem has happened at some of the weekly tracks is the quality, everybody's in. Everybody's in. Right? Everybody's in. Don't even need to worry about qualifying. I'm in. You just ride around. I'm in the race. I can just take it easy. I don't have to use up my equipment. Whether you're qualifying through heat races like the Valenti series is, or you're qualifying through time trials, you're in. You look, oh, we're taking the 37 is starting. What do we got in the pits here? 27. All right, we're in. We're in. I think NASCAR needs to take a look at that. Where did all our cars go? They need to get some marketing people that, even if they hire an outside company, call these 50 drivers and 50 car owners and find out why they don't race with us anymore. You might find that some of them have passed on. Some of them, they're into other things now. But I'm thinking you're going to find a good majority of it. Well, I'm racing on my weekly track because I'm having more fun. Or I'm racing this other series because, yeah, it doesn't pay a lot, but we weren't there for the money anyway. So, the expenses, the expense to revenue, the thing is a little bit better. And you know what? That guy has more money than God, and he could buy 20 tires and come up with his best 4 or 8 or whatever. But in the other series, in the Valenti series, whether you're the big money dog or the guy who's scraping it together, you get 4. Make it happen. And if you get a flat, you need to go to the head guy and say, this is flat. Can I get a new one? Cost to race. Expense to revenue, like any business. Whether you're doing this as a hobby or you're doing this as a business like I do, you do this, it's expense to revenue. Yeah, we know going in. Ed Flimke told me last year he spent $120,000 to go racing on the modified tour, made every event. And that's total cost, that's everything. That's getting there, hotels, food, tires, upkeep, maintenance. That didn't include the car. Okay? That's a lot of money in a touring series. To race, 15 races, let's say. So when you do the math, let's say you have your big paying races, your Bristol, New Hampshires, 11, 12, 13, 14,000. Then you have your lower paying races, Monadnock, Riverhead, Waterford. When you look at the average pay, it's about $5,000 an event. So you have 15 races. If you won every single race and got the move of the year, the race and the pole and everything considered, you might make $80,000. Again, some people don't. They're not here for the money. Because they want that piece of plastic with the marble base. They want the trophy. But you also don't want to lose your home and your business because you're going racing. Again, not saying that's what's going on. What I'm saying is this. NASCAR needs to take a look at what's happening to our series. Because I'm a concerned person now. I have a vested interest now. See, when I was an official, I went to the event, I got a paycheck, every other week, and it was great. But I have a vested interest now because I'm spending money. I'm spending money to go racing. And all my eggs are in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour basket. And even though they're kind of directing me to go take some eggs out of that basket and go get some seat time somewhere, which I welcomely will do and are actively making that happen. And I appreciate that I just hope they do that for everybody that wants to go racing in our series. Make sure they have the proper experience. And I'm sure that they're doing that. I don't know the names, and I don't know how many resumes come across their desk, and I don't know who they call up and say, hey, dude, you're not ready yet. You might want to stick to go-karts, you know. I don't know. I'm not privy to that, and it doesn't matter because we're not talking about them. We're talking about me, and I know what I was told I need to do, and I'm making that happen. But in the meantime, all my eggs are in the modified basket in the Whelen Modified Tour, and my fire suit has the emblem NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. It doesn't have weekly on it. It doesn't have the Valenti series. It doesn't have, you know, any other series but that. So I do have a vested interest, and you know, if I'm going to spend $40, $50, $60, or $100,000 to go racing, I want to ensure that this product's going to be around for a while. You know. I'm not the car owner, I'm the driver. But I'm still spending money. Just like every other competitor in our series is spending money. And you know, it's like any other business. And again, we're going to go back to the business, whether it's the racing business, the food business, the clothing business, whatever line of business you might be in, air freight, whatever. When you start losing customers, because the drivers or the teams are the customers to NASCAR. And I was told once by a very high-ranking authoritative figure at NASCAR that they said, Joe, all we do at NASCAR is put on a show. And we need to put on the best show possible. And I agree wholeheartedly. And for the most part, I think we are doing that. But we need to have more shows. Yeah, they gave us 4 TV events. Okay. Why not more? Why not more? You got a big TV package. Give the modified some more racing. The races, even on tape delay, when you cut it all up, how long is the race? An hour? An hour. Take out the long cautions, take out the red flags. You know, we show some good racing. We got to do what we got to do here. We got to do what we got to do to make our product work. And we all have to work together to do that. I just wish there was an avenue where there was some give and take. Hey, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? And don't talk to, and I'm saying, don't talk to the crybabies. Don't talk to the guys who, no matter, it's all doom and gloom. Talk to somebody that can talk to you with intelligence. And when I say talk, NASCAR should talk to these people who you could talk to intelligently. And I remember having some serious, intelligent discussions with Art Barry and Dick Barney, and even Ed Flemke Jr. Some very intelligent conversations with those guys. Bob Garbarino. Guy's been around modified racing for over 50 years. He has a lot to offer, just from what's in his head. What works, what doesn't work, what we could do, what we should do, what we need to do. Guys like that have been around. Ed Partridge. Ed Partridge is a guy who's a champion car owner, who knows how to make it happen. Get some input from that guy. Runs a very, very viable business here on Long Island. And the guy's a businessman. Talk to guys like that. That's what they need to do. And that's what needs to happen. And where NASCAR is going, and they're making all these great leaps and strides, in my opinion, with the top 3 national series, the Cup, the Nationwide, and the Camping World Truck Race Series. A lot of things. I mean, I still don't understand the truck schedule, and I know a lot of that has to do with with the tracks and the payoffs and things. There's a lot that goes on with that. And I don't mean payoffs under the table. I'm talking about purse money. You know, I don't need people saying, "Oh, no, people are getting payoffs." No, please, don't put words on my mouth. I say enough stupid stuff without you guys putting words on my mouth. But that's what needs to be done, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm a marketing guy. You know, after I decided I didn't want to be a lawyer and left law school, you know, as the years progressed, I became a marketing guy, and that's what I did at UPS, business development marketing. And you know, and one day at 50 years old, I said, I don't need to do this anymore. I'm going to enjoy, and I'm enjoying. Believe me when I tell you, I'm enjoying. But, you know, and I kind of miss what's going on at Sharon because I'm going into my own thing. But, you know, and I agree that, you know, I just saw a line, I can't see where it was, you know, hotels and what does it say, transportation, you know, all that kind of, absolutely, absolutely. But you know what? You don't need to bring 10 guys. You don't have pit stops. Bring a couple guys, 2, 3 guys, you're good to go. And you really don't need all these hotels because the Valenti Modified Racing Series, for the most part, are one-day events. You're in the morning, you're out that night. Is it a long day? Yeah, it's a long day if you want to, you know, depending on where you're coming from. I know if there was a racing up in, I don't know, Vermont, and I'm just making it up, and I'm from Long Island, you know, and I want to be there and not have a hotel room, I got to leave probably 4 o'clock in the morning. And if we race 7, 8 o'clock at night, man, a couple hours for the race maybe, by the time, you know, you go through tech hopefully and load up, you know, it's a 24-hour day. It's a 24-hour day. But you know what? You're not there for 3 days. You're not there for 3 days and 2 nights. You know, it's just one of the things that I know Phil Kurz, and he's Vice President of Motorsports Marketing at Wheeling Engineering. You know, Phil and I talked last year. We sat at the picnic table at Stafford. We talked about stuff like that, and we talked about going to New Hampshire and why did we have to bring our haulers there on Wednesday and practice on Thursday and do nothing on Friday and then qualify and you know, and then Saturday do our thing and then be there till late at night because we couldn't do tech until after the national event was on, and we couldn't leave, you know, until that was done. It was just, even though there was a tunnel there, you know, we had to wait, and it became a very late night. And Phil, that was one of the things that Phil Kurz talked about. We need to make these one-day events, in the morning, out that night, and it's still not happening. It's still not happening. And that's a big cost. And then, of course, these hotels, you know, they realize there's there's a NASCAR event in town. Whoa, let's up the fees. Let's up the cost of these hotel rooms. It doesn't just happen on the national series. It happens, you know. I went to dinner the other night at a restaurant that was near a hotel, and they said to me, he goes, oh, you know, they didn't gouge their price. It's the same menu that's always out. But they made a comment about how the hotel did. And they were like, you know, that hotel, other than race weekend, it's $69 a night. Get the race on the schedule, especially if it's a big one, it's double that. Why did they do that? You know, I don't know. I don't know, and even the fans. I looked at I look at pit fees. That's another thing I look at too when I go to racetracks. And the rule of thumb in race promoting and being a promoter and being an owner on a racetrack is you need your back gate, your pit gate, the fees at the pit gate to cover the purse, the insurance, the sanctioning fees, and the payroll. Because then it doesn't matter who comes in the front gate to watch. The back gate needs to pay the bills. This makes the front gate and the concessions gravy. Whether you have 1,000 people in or 10,000 people, whether they buy 1 drink and 1 hot dog or 50 hot dogs and 50 drinks. See, it's a whole big thing here. And when you look at the big picture, when you look at the business end of racing, I mean, you know, I know a lot of guys say, well, if I was a promoter, I would do this, and I was a promoter, I would do it. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Because of the cost involved to do that. And I'd make it $5,000 a win, and no, you wouldn't. You're going to look at your book and your accountant, and you're going to sit down and, all right, listen, my grandstands only hold, you know, 5,000. There's just so much I could charge. So let's say I only charge them, you know, $30. You know, that's 150,000. And, you know, I'm only going to get, you know, 100 cars. So I got to get, and 100 cars, they're going to bring 5 people each, so that's 500 people. That's another thing. Wow, all right, well, if I'm only grossing 100,000, I can't spend 150,000. I want to put money in my pocket too, because these promoters aren't doing this for charity. They're not doing this because they won Mega Millions and they got to get rid of cash. They're doing this because they want to make money. And folks, you can't begrudge a promoter, a track operator, or NASCAR even for wanting to make money. You just can't. Now, the other thing that I discovered while I was doing my research, because I have to go race other places before I could race certain big tracks, and again, please don't get me wrong, I understand that, I respect that. Talk about licenses. A wheel and modified car. I'm only going to talk about what I know about. A wheel and modified tour owner's license is $370. Driver's $370. Crew's $310. Okay, it is what it is. And after what I went through, I'd pay double that because I didn't have $212,000 that my insurance company didn't pay when they put my foot back on in '96. NASCAR paid it. So I'm not going to complain about the license fees. But what I am going to say is, here's the other series, the Valenti Modified Series. The owner's license is $200. The driver's license is $100. And a crew license is $10. That's crazy. $10. And it says in their rules that the crew license is $10 because they have to have something to give a crew member for identification purposes only. Okay, so does a crew guy really need to spend $310? I mean, I know it's a lot of it's an insurance policy and because, insurance costs have gone, and I don't mean that NASCAR is not an insurance company by any means. Don't say that I said they are. They're not. But I know that that's what a lot of that money goes towards is insurance in the event a member gets hurt. All right? I don't know. I'm seeing some talk about it in the chat room. If it was fans, if it wasn't for the fans, it wouldn't be, yeah, I mean, you need fans too. And then they say, what was he saying? Poochie Bump says that, Riverhead doesn't want to. Absolutely. I think that's one of the best touring events on the schedule. You're there at 9 in the morning, and yeah, it's a long day, 11 o'clock at night. By the time the race is over, 10 o'clock, you're on your way. And some stay overnight, some don't. Some take the ferry down from New England in the morning, and some might stay over. But you get a hauler driver who's used to being a driver for a living, and let's go, load it up, take a nap, we're going home. There's no reason that these shows should be 3 days. There's no reason. I shouldn't have to get there on Friday, because and especially in the modified series, for the most part. You're looking at a series full of working men and women. Now I got to take a day off. And not me per se, but I kind of make my own schedule, kind of do as I please. But and you could do that after you've been at UPS for 25 years, and you kind of do what you want, almost, to a degree, within reason. But there are people that they can't take off Friday and Saturday because. Not only do they not get their 40 hours, they don't get their overtime. And then the transportation and I know that's a big issue, but I don't know. I just don't know. A lot of maintenance going on around me, so that's always good. We're always trying to make things better here at NRadio. And I'll tell you what, this place, for those who've been here live, you wouldn't recognize the place. We are in the next. We're in the next level here at NRadio. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. I'll give you the results from the Spring Sizzler at Stafford, what went on at Richmond, and then it looks like we're wrapping it up. Tonight was a quick one. So we'll be back.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Last night we talked. You told me you were looking for something more.
Hey, we're back. Hey, don't forget to check out InRadio.com for other shows that we have here as our list keeps growing and growing. And also check out our contacts page. If there's some things that might interest you, you might want to go click on the contest tab and enter whatever we have. Because I like when my people, when I say my people, people who watch my show, win stuff. I love it. I love it. Anyway, what do we got? NASCAR Winter Modified Tour was at Stafford Motor Speedway in Stafford Springs, Connecticut for the Spring Sizzler. Bobby Santos was the winner, followed by Doug Colby in second. Rowan Pennick was third. Woody Pitkat was in fourth. Justin Bonsignor, who the current point leader, was fifth. Ted Christopher sixth. Donnie Lee is seventh. Timmy Salamino was the highest finishing rookie, eighth. Matt Hirschman ninth, and Ron Silk was 10th. The pole went to rookie contender Tommy Barrett. And like I said, Justin Bonsignor is currently the point leader after 2 events. It was a good race. I thought it was a great race from my perspective anyway. There was a lot of slicing and dicing, a lot of pushing and shoving, but good pushing and shoving. A couple of guys got caught up. There was one event on a restart where the 3-car just got turned around going for the start. And I don't know if the 3-car misshifted. I don't know if the car behind him, which I'm not going to name because I don't want to be accused of saying he caused this or she caused this or they caused this, but got into him. I think he misshifted. I don't think he deliberately decided to drive him into the fence and tear up 4 or 5 other race cars. But for the most part, it was a good event. Eric Goodale had a solid run until he ended up in the turn 4 fence. Him too. Ken Hagee was running real strong until he had his situation. I believe he was part of that restart mess, but it was a good race. I was kind of disappointed on the car count. That's another event that used to get 40, 45 cars. I believe there was something like 26 or 27 cars there. I don't remember exactly. I didn't write that down. Maybe I should have. But NASCAR needs to look at that. Just saying, all right? I don't. Kevin Basic used to, from Long Island Need for Speed, used to say a lot of stuff, saying that NASCAR doesn't want the modifiers, and I disagree, and I still disagree. NASCAR wants every racing division that they can get, and then some. But once you have them, and you got to keep them, and you got to do things, you got to put things in place to keep them going. That's all I'm saying. And like I said, my eggs are in this basket, and I'm on the other side of the fence now, and it's not about going, opening a gate, teching them, sending them out, re-teching them, going home. Okay, to me, it's more than that now. This is what I do. Our team is just like no other racer. We're all the same. We go to race, and we want to race as often as we can. So anyway, that's what we got with that. Nationwide was at Richmond. Let's see what we got. Nationwide. Kevin Harvick was the winner. Chase Elliott was second. Kyle Busch third. Kyle Larson fourth. Followed by Brian Scott, finished fifth from the pole. Elliott Sadler sixth. Chris Buescher was seventh. Reagan Smith eighth. Ryan Blaney ninth. And James Buescher rounded out the top 10. In the Cup Series, Joey Logano, as we know, is the winner there. Jeff Gordon second, Kyle Busch third, Brad Keselowski was fourth, Matt Kenseth fifth, A.J. Allmendinger sixth, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was seventh, Ryan Newman eighth, Carl Edwards ninth, and rounding out the top 10, Martin Truex Jr. Kyle Larson had the pole. He ended up finishing 16th. The Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama was run, obviously in Alabama. Was won by Ryan Hunter-Reay, followed by Marco Andretti, Scott Dixon third, Simon Pagenaud was fourth, Will Power fifth, Justin Wilson sixth, James Hinchcliffe seventh, Joseph Newgarden eighth, Tony Kanaan ninth, and Charlie Gimbo rounding out the top 10. A lot going on this weekend in racing. There's racing just about everywhere. I know there's a big modified race up in Chemung. Flipping a coin whether I go up to that or I go to my local racetrack here in Riverhead. Got some things I'm working on. So, and as my crew chief DJ alluded to earlier, there is a fourth car in the stable at Wade Cole's family of racing that we are making a Riverhead car. I believe. People think I was crazy. I wasn't going to say anything until we rolled into the pits with it, but obviously we're not going to be there this weekend, or probably not the second weekend, but we will be there with it eventually. It'll be numbered the 83, as long as that number is available. And we got a nice color scheme for it. It's going to be black. And and DJ understands the inside joke for that. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to go take that car to Riverhead. I was working on a ride at Riverhead, and I thought we had it. It was like 99% there, and I don't know what happened. But things happen for a reason. So we're going to do that and work on a couple other things. And I also may show up at Riverhead in another division, and it might happen this weekend. I don't know, but it'll definitely happen week 2. I'm not going to give that up right at the moment, but I'm going to become a driver. I'm going to go drive whatever I can, wherever I can, whenever I can, because that's what I like to do. I had a lot of fun this weekend and stuff, and I got some nice pictures. I got some real nice pictures, and like I said, those who were here know how I made that happen. When I say here, I should say there. So let's see. Yeah, we'd had more cars if I. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding, because I don't want to, sound like I'm bashful. I I know what my capabilities are, and unfortunately, the powers to be, they don't know me from a whole. There's a whole new regime in NASCAR as opposed to the NASCAR that I first went to work for on the tour in 2002, full-time, having worked with on a limited basis in 2000 and 2001. And it's a whole different regime, and there's a whole different group of officials that, a lot of folks don't know a lot of folks. I don't know. Yeah, Silverback, I think you're talking about Riverhead, and, I'm going to say, a lot of people think I don't know what I'm doing. And after the first practice, and understand, I have the utmost respect for Wade Cole, and I'm proud to say that the man is considered a friend, and he's in my circle, and my circle is very tiny. I don't let a lot of people in. I let a lot of people on the perimeter. I don't let a lot of people in my circle. And after the first practice, I spotted from, which is a whole different perspective as being a friends grabber in turn 4. And he came in and he said he was coming in because something wasn't right, and I made like 4 changes. I convinced him to make 4 changes and run a different line. And understand, so I officiated over 6,000 races at Riverhead Raceway. That includes heat races, so people are going to get the calculator. There's no way he had to be an official for 57 years. And I didn't figure that out. UPS did when I was being considered for a UPS NASCAR liaison's position, which I didn't get it, which I'm kind of glad I didn't. But anyway, we gained 4/10 with my changes. 4/10. That's a lot. When you're running like 11.8 to 12.1, that was the mid-range. We were running about 12.4, 12.5. We were good enough to get in the show. Last qualified car in. Great. Boop. Love it. In fact, we might have taken a provisional, but we were like right there. And we were running, we were riding right there all day long. And so I know what I'm doing, folks. Don't let I play dumb things sometimes. I'm saying it's a national TV here, national internet, across the waves, 7.2 billion people. We have people that follow my show in Australia, Canada, all right? I know this for a fact. So, not that I'm giving myself up, but I know what I'm doing, all right? I sat back for a long time. Because, an old friend once told me, God gives you 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth because you're supposed to see and listen twice as much as you speak. And that's what I did. I never said, I know, you're doing that wrong, this is what you do. I just observed and took it in, observed some more, took it more. And like I said, I know what I'm doing. So anyway, so I'm looking forward to doing these things, and I just want to go. I want to go race. I want to have a good time. I want to go have a real good time, make it happen, satisfy some people, shut some people up, because a lot of people said that this was not going to happen. We're going to show them. But anyway, the deal, my original Riverhead deal, just fell through for some reason, and I'm kind of glad I didn't go public with it. There's a couple of people that know about it, but and it's only going to be a plus for our show here too, because it's going to give me more to talk about when I go racing, and have more people that want to be on. In fact, like I said, Ed Flemke Jr. was supposed to be here this evening. We still have Marissa Niederauer scheduled to come, try to work around her work schedule to get her here, but we're going to make that happen. Ted Christopher, one of the winningest drivers in modified history, has agreed to come on our show as well. And we have some context around that. You're going to see a whole different 505 on in 2014. I got this beautiful set now. Studio A is no longer where my guests get served steak and lobster. There's like a whole other setup there for like another show, because we have so many shows here in Arabia now, if you go on the website and look, that we're starting to back up into each other. So if I run over, that means the guy after me, he runs late, and so I have to, kind of be off a minute or so prior. Because I know somebody says, well, you still have 2 minutes left. Where you going? There's a lot that has to happen in that 2 minutes between my show and the next show. Which, come to speak of it, the next show, Metal Maniacs is up after me. Great bunch of guys and a gal. I believe there's 2 guys and a gal on that show. And they know their stuff. It takes you about 10, 15 minutes. Actually, it takes you about a half hour to get home. And I try to catch them. I wish there was a way to catch them in my car because I can listen on my phone, even though it's not hands-free. I guess they'll see that big bright light. Like on the TV shows when the interior car they're driving at night. I never understood like the lights came up from the bottom, to see their face. But anyway, they're good guys. I mean, in fact, everybody here in the InRavio family, good people here for the right reason. In fact, here, Metal Maniacs is walking into the studio now. And they're like walking in like so quiet, like they're tiptoeing in. One guy's eating Cheez-Its, and you can hear them crunching. It's all good. It's all good. Cheez-Its, good stuff. But anyway, I guess I guess we have about 5 more minutes. Holy cow, this is wonderful. I get 5 minutes to rant. I think I've been ranting. Let's see. The My Race News show will debut next April 1st. Yeah, April 1st, April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day. Unbelievable. Yeah. So anyway, a lot going on coming up this weekend. Most of the weekly series racetracks are going to be up and running. Hopefully the weather, I know we got some bad weather coming up in the Northeast, but hopefully that doesn't affect. Saturday looks good no matter where I plan to go. Again, I'm not really sure. Friday will determine that. Like I said, I got a bunch of things going on, and I had a long chat with a former car owner of mine who has a car that I might make some arrangements for. I'm going to decide that on Friday when I speak to my motor guy to see if we can get a motor in a day. I think we can. I think we can make that happen. Maybe it might take 2 days, but I got some things in the plan, some things in the works, and like I said, my ultimate plan and where we're headed first is to get the necessary seat time at necessary racetracks so that I could call NASCAR and send them those results. And I've done my part, they've done their part, and they've done their part from the beginning, and I have to thank them. And I had a brief chat with Jimmy Wilson, the NASCAR Wheeler Modified Tour series director, Saturday morning at Stafford Motor Speedway up in Connecticut. And Jimmy and I had a nice talk. We didn't talk about racing. We talked about other things. And that tells me a lot. When a guy comes up to you and says the things that he said some things that made me feel a little more comfortable moving forward to go racing in his series. And what was said will remain between him and I, but it was all good. It was something he didn't have to say, and in fact, he sent me an email as well. Prior to, I had emailed him with a question, and we went from there. So it's all good, and there's a lot of rumors in the street why I left NASCAR. Some say that I was walked out. Some say I was carried out. Some say I went out kicking and screaming. People close to me know what really happened. And that's you people, me, and God know what really happened that day up in that knock. And everything happens for a reason, and that was due. And yes, you do. You do need a NASCAR license to get in the pits at Riverhead, unless you want to pay an extra fee. I believe the extra fee, My Race News covered it. It's an extra. You have to pay $50 for a one-day thing, and just get the license, all right? Anyway, we're going to wrap this thing up. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and watch and listen to us. I know there's a lot of people who do not come in the chat room because I talk to them during the week. And I want to thank them as well. I want to thank everybody that makes this happen, the entire staff at InRavio for giving me everything they've given me, and hoping to move forward. But anyway, wherever your endeavors take you this week, please be safe, be careful, tell somebody you love them, give them a hug. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.
InReview.com. InReview.com.